Diego, it's everyone, Kajima Tashiv, and welcome back to episode number 159 of the Inline G Flute Podcast with me, your host, your boy, your motherfucking Inline G. We've got another episode in the bank this week. This is coming to you from the past, because currently, in real time, I'm on a beach in southern Portugal drinking sangria at Molly Malone's Irish pub. Or, maybe after last week's episode, I'm locked up in a French prison somewhere on fucking Martinique. And this episode is on autopost, so if that is the case, don't tell the prosecutor about this one. This can be used as evidence against me. Now, this week's episode, again, is not going to be a fun one. I am sorry, but I want to get these episodes out in one kind of big go because it's less mental stress for me. I hate making these episodes. I know they're important, but I really fucking hate it. So last week's episode, we talked about a very high-profile, abusive French flute teacher. We went into the whole thing. I'm going to do another similar episode this week, but we're jumping across the pond to the US of A in a very widely reported case. Now, the reason I'm doing this is that even though there has been a lot of reports, people are still terrified about talking about this case. They're terrified of legal ramifications. They're terrified of being sued for libel, etc., etc. If this was in Europe, I would be a little bit scared myself. I would tell you in private message, no problems at all. I would tell you in the pub. If you ring me up, I'll tell you all the names and details you need to know. I won't do it in the podcast quite as quickly or openly because this podcast comes under different legal requirements. So it is classed as a media publication, so it has different libel laws. I could end up in a lot of trouble. So I have to be a little bit more careful in the podcast, even though I'm not. Last week's episode, I would be surprised if it's still online by the time this week comes around, because the minute a lawyer gets a whiff of that, it's going down, obviously. But again, in Europe, I'm scared of these things because we have actual laws. In the US of A, it's a totally different beast. I couldn't give less of a fuck. The New York Philharmonic have sent all their king's horses and all their king's men after me. Couldn't touch me. So today, I'm going to be talking about Bradley Garner. Now, the reason is, one, to get out all the info about this very high-profile case in one place in no uncertain terms. But two, more importantly, is to remind anyone out there that if they have a story that they wish to share and they can't find the right media outlet or place to do it where it will protect their anonymity and make sure they're 100% comfortable, this is your guy. I will do it. We will talk. We will do it on your terms. You will get your story told in the way you want to whenever you're comfortable to have it. So I'm going to give you an example of how confident I am with this. Okay? Because I won't defend people. So Bradley Garner, I had never heard that name prior to 2018 when these allegations became public. Never once. He certainly thinks or thought he was a bigger deal than what he was. I actually wanted to go and listen to his playing before this episode so I could attack it a little bit, but I'm not going to give him the satisfaction of getting a click or a stream or even the fucking slightest chance he'd get a penny off me. I'm not going near it, so fuck him. Don't care. But the fact that I haven't heard of him means he's probably shite. Or mediocre at best, because I've heard of fucking everybody. Okay, so he's not a big deal, regardless of what he fucking thinks. Now, Bradley Garner was a flute professor at the University of Cincinnati in their Conservatory of Music. Now, again, Cincinnati, not a fucking clue where that is. People outside of America, not a clue. I've heard the name in like movies and stuff, but unless it's LA or New York, couldn't give a bollocks. Wouldn't fucking know. But what I did find out was it was also the hometown of disgraced, abusive opera director, James Levine. So whatever the fuck is in the water down in Cincinnati, we need to get rid of it. Now, Brad Garner would be in his late 60s now, so I did a little bit of digging on him to give you guys an idea of who I'm talking about, because if you're not a flute player, you might not be familiar with Bradley Garner. But a lot of the biographies have disappeared online. So he used to be a Yamaha artist. They've removed his biography. Every institution he's worked with has removed his biography. Also, by the way, if you studied with Garner, you should probably go and check your online biographies and remove his name, because when I Googled his name, a lot of you still have his name up there as if you're proud to study with him. I'm assuming it's a mistake. Go and remove it. Now, Garner, from what I gathered, he studied a bit, did a bit of this and that, nothing to a spectacular level, played with a couple of orchestras, mainly a teacher, again, nothing to write home about. One thing he did put in his biography at the time was he was the first American flutist to be invited by the Russian government to perform in Moscow's Tchaikovsky Hall. Not a flex. Not a flex to be invited by the Russian government. Fuck the Russian government. That's not cool. That's shite. I would not be bragging about that. I wouldn't be telling anybody about that, Brad. So, we got a rough idea. Mediocre flute player, couldn't give a fuck about him. Ugly bastard to boot, but we'll get on to that. That's not libel, by the way. He is ugly as sin. So, autumn of 2016, Two of Bradley Garner's flute students at the University of Cincinnati make a formal complaint to the university about sexual harassment, obviously concerning him. The university opens a Title IX investigation. We are going to get on to what that means later. But this investigation goes on for about 12 to 14 months. During that time, over 21 people provide testimonies, some of them going back to the 90s. The conclusion of the university's investigation is that he was found of repeated and systematic sexual harassment. He then has to face a tribunal in December 2017 where it is accepted and done and dusted. He's going to get fired. He's going to get the fucking boot. Then he knows about this and the fucking rat, the yellow-bellied bastard, jumps ship and retires a month before to not give anyone the satisfaction doing it. Now, he claims it was an unfair investigation. He didn't want to face it. If it was unfair, go and fucking defend yourself, mate. Don't be a fucking fanny about these things. But no. Obviously, he ran away because he knew he'd be in trouble, so he retired. February of 2018, the University of Cincinnati releases all this information to the public. Then, Hamilton County, which is the local police force, investigates Garner for criminal charges. A month later, in March 2018, they say they are not pressing charges. Now, very important to notice the difference between a legal case and a university disciplinary case, because in a university thing, you're looking to have proven that they have broken the code of ethics or morals within the university or their own standards. A legal case, you're looking to prove that they have broken the law and that you can prove that beyond a reasonable doubt. So the evidence threshold is much higher in legal cases. Now, the head investigator of this case was a guy called Joe Deaders. I'm hoping that's how you pronounce that. I'm going to give you some quotes Joe gave to the newspaper to tell you. So, Garner did not get charged for anything here, but here's what Joe had to say. I'd like to see him go to jail, but right now we can't do it. In Ohio, if a high school student is molested or an activity with a teacher, that is a crime. Unfortunately, there is no similar crime for a college professor. It was generally consensual, but was it really consensual when he's controlling your life? Well said, Joe. He went on to say, some victims have not been identified. They were videotaped with him. I know there are other girls out there, and I would urge him to come forward to the university and report this behaviour. Then he says, quite frankly, I'd like to see him go to jail. But right now we can't do it. We don't have the case. He also did call Brad Garner a pig in this report. Fair play to you, Joe. I would have used a lot stronger words. But what exactly was it that Garner was doing? Now, we are going to get into that. Two things. One, trigger warning. Okay, if you're sensitive to these heavy details, they're not pleasant to hear about. If you're not in the right mental headspace for that, head off now. Okay. Two, I'm going to do a Patreon read now. I don't like doing it during these serious episodes, but needs be, and you've asked for them as well. It's probably important I put them in. So if you're a regular listener of this podcast, skip ahead a minute or two. You know what's about to happen. If you're new around here, would I ask you that you just stick about for another minute or two? Go make yourself a cup of tea while I'm doing this. It's not super important. The Inline G podcast is free, and it will always be free. That is a guarantee. However, if you wish to donate to the podcast, you can now do so through the Patreon. On the screen now is the address, and for the audio listeners, it is patreon.com/the Inline G Flute podcast. Of course, the link is also in the bio. There is an episode of Inline G every single Friday. Come rain nor fucking shine for 159 weeks straight. I do this entire podcast on my own. It is the definition of a small independent podcast. It is a monster amount of work, and I love every fucking second of it. It is the greatest pleasure I've ever had in my life creatively. I adore making this podcast, but it is a lot of work. The Patreon costs $5 a month to sign up to, right? Or $5, whatever that is in your currency. If you can afford to sign up to it, it is very appreciated, okay? If you listen to this podcast, right? If you listen to one episode, or if you listen every single week, and you think, fuck, I really enjoyed that, that was free, I would buy Gareth a pint if I saw him in a pub. Do it online by signing up to Patreon. If you only want to do a one-off thing and not be a regular subscriber, sign up to it, immediately unsubscribe. That way, you give your $5 over to me, I get a bit of support for it, and you don't get a monthly bill, okay? If you can stay monthly, that would also be appreciated, okay? You don't get anything extra. I'm sorry, I do believe the podcast should be for everybody. Everybody gets the same podcast, okay? It is a system based on kindness and soundness. There are no sponsors in Inline G. There never will be. They made it very clear that if they want to sponsor, they want to put money towards the podcast and sponsor it. I'm not allowed to talk about certain things. I'm not allowed to swear. I could never do this episode. Thank you would never give me money to do this episode. Way too fucking hot to touch this. We are now the biggest flute podcast in the world by quite a bit, and we are 100% listener funded. So thank you to you guys for doing that. If you are a Patreon or patron, thank you so much. You've kept this podcast going. If you're thinking of doing it, please do subscribe. If you can afford it, it makes the world of difference around here, and it's so nice to be paid for my work as an artist. If you can't afford it, That's grand. Someone else is paying so that you can listen for free. Thank you. So what exactly was Brad Garner accused of doing? Now, I've got a few things he said during... These are reported, by the way. These are all public information. These are in the reports. Things he said to students during group lessons where other people can see what's going on. So it's been reported from several sources. One time he said to someone, would you like your spanking now or later? And then he said to someone else, I want you to breathe so low that the bottom of your pants pop open. I promise I won't look, but maybe I will. Now, again, these are publicly reported. When you go to Reddit, where people are anonymized, again, small community of the flute world, you get multiple stories of things like him grabbing asses during lesson, him grabbing students' breasts, him kissing students on the mouth in lessons. This is a fucking guy in his 60s, by the way. And these students, some of them are young, 16, but they're not going to be older than about fucking 25. It is creepy at best and illegal at worst. Now again, these are all the official reports that you can go and find online, very easy by searching his name. There are darker ones. Now, I think the reason why they're not reported is people are afraid of legal consequences, because what I'm about to tell you, these are criminal accusations, not just moral ones. These are not the kind of thing that get you sacked from university. These are the things that end you up in the slammer. So first of all, it is widely reported publicly as well that Garner preferred Asian students or students of Asian descent. Now, it is very heavily inferred that is not because of their ethnicity, but purely because of their vulnerability that they have with moving so far away from home, and the vulnerability comes with learning a new language so far from your own language. Now, what was also said was they often preferred students at the age of 16 or younger. Now, I will remind you that the age of consent in Ohio, as it is in most US states and most parts of the world these days, is 16. You cannot consent to sexual activity under the age of 16. If someone is one day under 16 and you, an adult, have sex with them, you are a pedophile. You are committing sexual relations with a minor. That is a crime. You're having sex with a child. Let me make that very clear. There's no other area about this. The minute they are 1 second under 16, you are committing a crime. If you're having sex with 16-year-olds in your 60s, you're a fucking weirdo at best. But then you're a pedophile when it goes further. Now, several sources do, including Joe, by the way, our investigator from earlier, reported that he preferred Asian girls. So that is very openly out there. I only found 2 sources purporting that he preferred girls at 16 or under, especially high school students. So I don't have as much evidence on that one publicly available. You could, if you dig around long enough, you'll find that on the internet. Although I don't know that people are aware that that's still up there, but if you go and dig, you'll find that. Now, we're going to get a bit more darker because, as I said earlier, there was something mentioned about videotaping students. This is one of the most widely reported aspects of this entire case, was that Garner had filmed himself having sex with students and showed other people. Now, there are 2 students that are reported. That doesn't mean he's only done it twice. That means he's been caught twice doing this. Minimum of 2 students. Now, the reports, very importantly, do not say at any point whether these recordings were made with the participants' consent. Did they say yes to these recordings, or were they made without their consent and their knowledge? In which case, obviously illegal. That's voyeurism. That's very illegal to record someone without their consent, especially in sexual activity. But what is known is that several people reported seeing these recordings. The Garner showed them the recordings in person. That is illegal. Okay, there is a law in Ohio, like there is in most states, and again, most parts of the world, against revenge porn. And in Ohio specifically, it is illegal, very clearly in the law, by the way, illegal to publicly share or electronically share sexual images or recordings of another person without their consent. Now, it is a little bit shady in the law about how illegal it is to show some of those recordings in person. It's not shady because of the morality around it or the ethics around it. It's shady because it's hard as fuck to prove that that happened. Okay? Now, again, we do not know if the recordings were made with consent, and that is vital. The officer from earlier, our Joe, did say that they didn't identify anyone in the recordings, but if someone came forward, they could then identify them. It would be amazing if someone came forward and said, hey, you made videos of me. Is that me in the video? It would be incredible if someone did that, because that is a lot of proof and that could lead to a criminal conviction. Unfortunately, people won't do that, and I totally understand. If it was me in that position, I wouldn't come forward. I wouldn't do it. I would want to forget this entire thing, especially all these years later. I wouldn't be going near it. But it would be amazing if someone could. It is seriously fucking dark stuff. A lot of these allegations goes back to the 90s. And as you always know with these cases, it's never the worst of it. The ones that are reported and make it out to the media are the tip of the iceberg. Now, a quick note on the Title IX stuff. The Title IX investigation from earlier. It's super interesting. Maybe my American friends and listeners know this, but other people might not. So Title IX comes from Title IX of the Education Amendments Act in 1972 in the American law. It's literally the 9th section or title of that federal law. And the whole operative sentence is only 37 words long, so I'm going to read it for you now. It says, no person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subject to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. Now, when this amendment came out, the main cases that triggered the Title IX investigation were sexism cases within sport, especially tennis. It was quite prolific in the 70s and 80s for that. Since the Me Too movement in 2016, it is being used for sexual harassment very commonly, especially in education institutions. It is regulated across the US. But importantly, the investigations are carried out by the institutions themselves. If an institution receives federal funding, they must comply and they must offer an investigation when a Title IX complaint is made. There is no government department for complaints. The school or institution handles it internally. There's usually one person in charge, someone in an office in the building somewhere that handles this. But it is regulated at a federal level. So the US Department of Education and their Office for Civil Rights, they don't investigate individual cases of harassment, but they do investigate whether the school or institution properly handled the complaints. So it's not a court of law. Very important to say. This is an employment disciplinary procedure or process. So it can often lead to criminal convictions because the information will become public because it's federal. It'll be available to the public. If there's anything criminal in there, it can lead to a criminal investigation. But this is important to make sure if someone is fit to work at a federal institution. Again, having relationships with a consenting adult is legal. Of course it is, as it should be. But in this case, and in many of these cases, it's fucking weird. It's an abuse of power, firstly, because you know the power you have with these people. And secondly, you are 61 years of age and you're having sex with 16-year-olds. There is something wrong with you. There is something fucking wrong with you. I'm sorry. Age gap relationships are not okay. Not to that level, and especially with fucking teachers. It's not okay. That's fucking weird. Someone who is 16, you should not be trying to have sex with them. Again, if they were one day older, or younger, they are a child. That's not right. You shouldn't be attracted to that. I have 16-year-old students. They are fucking kids. Legally, they're not. They are children. Man, even when they're 18, I'm looking at them going, you are a fucking child. Okay? Now, Garner, again, was never convicted of any criminal wrongdoing, but I heard stories firsthand. Beyond these reports, it was like wildfire through the Flute community. I heard them all firsthand. I know what he did. The things he's accused of doing, he fucking did them. We all know he did, okay? And I know he did fucking worse. And everyone fucking knows it. He did finally get a ban from the NFA, the National Flute Association, a couple of years ago because people wrote a petition to have him banned from teaching or be involved in anything there. And since all these allegations come out, I haven't seen any proof that he's done any professional work. Bar one little thing. And this is my last note on this before I leave you, okay? If you're running a festival or a school or an institution or anything that hires these people, don't hire these people. Fucking hell. Even if it's just at that point accusations, don't fucking hire them. Okay, just don't do it. There are plenty of flute teachers out there. Hire me. I'll come and do it for you for half the price. They're not worth it. There's something fucking wrong with you if you do this. I'm going to name and shame this, by the way. There is a thing called the Wildacres Flute Retreat in the United States. Now, Brad Garner was a regular teacher there. The director is a woman called Thiebault. This is for children, by the way. For fucking children. After the allegations about Garner came out, she said this: he's a great teacher, he's a wonderful player, and he's a really nice person to work with. I was disgusted with what I read in the Cincinnati paper. Fucking rat. Now, there was another teacher at the camp, a woman called Helen Speenman, who reported Garner for 2 years consistently prior to these allegations becoming public. She reported him to Thiebault, the camp director. She wanted essentially a code of ethics to come in because of what Garner had done. Thiebault replied by saying that some 15-year-old girls are just little nymphos. And she had a nickname for one wee girl at the camp who, again, was 15, which was Lolita. You fucking weirdo. Thiebault also called Speedman a horrible old biddy for doing this. And she stressed that inappropriate behaviour wasn't welcome at the Little Switzerland retreat and called the allegations against Garner a witch hunt. She says Garner will remain on faculty, but Speedman will never ever set foot on Wildacres again. Anne Thiebault still runs this camp to this day for children. Now, she eventually stopped bringing Garner in after the public pressure grew too much, but she fucking defended him and she fucking knew. She fucking knew, because we all knew. We all fucking knew. And the fact that she is still allowed to run a camp for young people and parents are sending their kids there is insane. She is a fucking witch. If you're hiring these people and worse, defending them, you've no fucking spine. And I think well, I'm not going to go that far, but number one priority, if you're an educator or doing anything involving people who are minors, the number one priority, fuck the flute playing, is safety. It is number one. We have to protect young people. That is just your job as an adult. And again, fuck the flute. And if you can't do that, you're not fit to run these camps. You're not fit to teach. You're not fit to be around children. You shouldn't be around. I looked up a photo of Thiebault, by the way, and I'm telling you, she has a face on her like a fucking smacked arse. That is a face that only a mother could love. Not even a mother could love. So my advice, if you're listening out there, parents in the Wildacres area, keep your children miles away from Aunt Thiebault and her husband. The fucking weirdos. That's the end of the episode, lads. I can't do any more of this. I'm fucking done. But again, I want you to know that I'm not afraid to call these people out. And if you want to report anything, get in touch. I will accommodate you fully. I'll listen to you in any way you want, whatever format you want. If you want to phone me, if you want to text me, if you want to email me, if you want to do it in some kind of anonymous way, I'll take it. Whatever makes you feel comfortable. And I will provide you with whatever level of anonymity you want. I'll change the details as well as you need to make sure that you can't be identified. Whatever you want, whatever you need to be possible to report this, come and ask me about it. And if you come and tell me at all and you say, do you know what? Fuck it, Gareth, I'm still not comfortable. I will never tell a soul and it will go away forever. I promise. So stay safe out there, everyone. And again, if you're a lawyer and you want to get in touch, send all the correspondence to the Irish Rover pub in the south of Portugal. Free Palestine, lads, slan.
Hello.